Hey yo, my name is Keith and I wrote a book about The Last of Us, which I'm making the audio version on this podcast stream / YouTube channel. But in between chapters, I've been putting out just other video game shit. And one of the ideas I had was to review a game hour by hour, just to check in each hour and see how it's going. I just thought that'd be a neat idea because you get the whole curve. Like instead of just a first impressions or reviewing a game at the end, it's like, how did it feel in the middle? How did this journey feel? But the weird thing about these is, I guess just due to the nature of checking in after each little session that I play, they tend to be kind of nitpicky and they sort of inevitably devolve into like, when did I quit playing? But whatever, let's give it a shot. Let's try another one because Cyberpunk 2077 just came out. My cousin bought the PS4 version for his PS4 Pro, and I got a little chance to just play the first little bit today. So my first check-in, I set the game to very hard. I turned off all the auto-aiming. This is just a thing I do to myself that may not always be for the best, but I especially like making things hard for yourself in a game like this that's like an open game where you have different options and different character builds and stuff. I feel like in these situations it's especially important to block off avenues, like don't make it so you can just do everything. When you set things to hard, there's certain things you just can't do in a reasonable way, so you've got to find ways around it. And I find it more fun of like, all right, let's explore character builds I might not have explored necessarily. Or if there's one part of the game that's really fucking me, build my character in a way to try to help out with that situation or whatever. It's one of those ironies, one of those catch-22s, is that by blocking off access to parts of the game, it can make the game feel bigger to me or more realistic. I mean, it's the eternal debate, right? Playing on easy versus playing on hard. But I need a game to fight back. It's the only way I can feel immersed. It's the only chance for me to give a shit is for this game to have the tools it needs to push back against me. I picked the Nomad class, and it's always a little weird the first time because you don't really know what you're doing. Like on a second playthrough, there's a lot of character building stuff that is a lot more obvious. Where in this case, just because I have it set to very hard, I just put all my points in like physical strength, combat type shit, and some stealth type stuff, I'm just figuring probably when you put a game to hard, mostly what changes is just physical combat. It's probably not going to change puzzles or, character storylines or anything. It's just going to be that I will die sooner. So I'm leaning toward physical strength. And right away, again, here's the nitpicking. I'm like, all right, this is cool. I like the style and stuff. Cyberpunk shit in general, I just think is really cool. So since I'm a nomad, I'm out on the outskirts of town and I'm in this garage and I'm getting my car fixed. And the local sheriff comes in and he's like, I don't like you riffraff. You nomad riffraff. You get out of my town. He's a real asshole. So the first thing I did as soon as the game let me take control and drive out of the garage is back up, turn right around, go run over the fucking sheriff. And all that happened, it just immediately everything broke. Everything got awkward and weird. Where I was not allowed to run over the sheriff. Maybe he's like important later for storyline shit or something. He went into sort of a on alert mode, where he's like holding his gun and prepared for combat. But he didn't actually attack me or do anything. And I tried to run him over a couple more times and just nothing happened. And I tried getting out of my car and fighting him, but I guess I haven't unlocked the ability to do combat yet, so I couldn't do that. And it's like, okay, sure, I'm fucking with the game right now. I'm being an asshole. But the game seriously set me up for that. This fucking sheriff is being a total cunt. I'm a weird nomad who lives on the outskirts of society. Fuck this guy. Why wouldn't I try to run him over? Could they have not foreseen that they were setting me up to try to do this, and immediately the whole game world just breaks. Immediately. I've been playing for fucking 5 minutes. So that's a little disappointing. I'm just like, oh, well, okay. This is how, before a game comes out, there's so much hype of like, oh, it's going to be so open, and you can do anything, and you can just go fucking nuts. But that high watermark of like Fallout New Vegas has just never even come close to being reached again. Already there's a guy that, no, you can't run him over. You can't attack him. Why the fuck not? Maybe don't have him mouth off to me then. What the fuck, game? And visually, graphics-wise, just going through the little early missions on the way to Night City. And you're at the big first, gotta cross the border. It's tense. Gotta go through customs. But the bad guys do this little thing when they're standing around where if they walk too close to a barricade, they just, boop, pop up to being on top of the barricade and immediately look all fake and dumb. And I'm like, shit, come on. It's literally been 20 minutes. And graphical pop-up glitch shit is happening. Okay. I'm just resetting my expectations. You hope every time, oh, this game's going to be the best. This is going to have all its shit figured out. And it's just weird and janky, and it is just a Bethesda game, is how this feels. Just a big mess of shit. But I really do like the vibe and the style and the setting, and it's like, oh, I'm going into the city, it's gonna be so cool. And then there's this really neat montage where it just goes through your first 6 months in the city. And it's like, this is great. This is really well done. It's like, this is so cool. Just all the cyberpunk shit happening. I made a little friend and we're doing stuff. Then the tutorials. Tutorials are always the bane of my existence. I don't know what to do about them. Games are complex enough at this point in history that you need a tutorial, but they're a drag. I hate them. And a lot of times they're the narrowest part of a game. Once you're in the game proper, you have options. You have things you can do. In the tutorial, you have to do the tutorial or it just resets over and over, and it's so fucking annoying. But whatever, I slogged my way through, whatever, it seemed okay. But all the hacking shit, I'm like, I barely understand what's going on here. Hopefully this game is open enough that maybe I can just not do this. And in particular, this hacking minigame. I was watching my cousin play a bit yesterday, and he was like, what is going on with this hacking minigame? I don't understand this at all. And I looked up a quick little article about it. But having not played it myself and just being an observer, the article didn't really make sense. And I was like, I don't know, I can't really help you, bud. I just assumed when I did it myself it would make more sense, but it didn't. They explain this hacking thing so fucking poorly, and they kind of hold your hand through it. You actually can't fail it. You can only pick the right option, but I have no idea why I'm picking these numbers or what they mean. I'm sure it's not that complicated, but it is not explained at all. And it reminds me of the computer hacking in Fallout 3, where it's just a little too complicated to make intuitive sense. But once you figure out how it works, it's okay, I know how this works now. I can do this if I want to sit down and fucking take the time to do it. But most of the time I just didn't bother. I'm like, well, I guess I just won't do that. Whatever. And I find that kind of weird in general because what's up with games making you do hacking mini games? I understand the idea that okay, you want to hack, then hack. But why are you making me do it? My character is the hacker. My character has the hacking skills. Why are you making me the player do this? It's weird. I don't have to know how to fucking wield a katana in real life. My character knows how to do that. Why do I personally have to do the hacking? And it kind of reminds me of Bioshock 1 had that really annoying water game to do the hacking with the pipes. And in Bioshock 2, they're like, okay, this is slowing things down. It's really tedious. By the end of the game, it makes you want to kill yourself. Let's just change it to it's just a quick little thing that takes 2 seconds. Where there's a little bar that goes back and forth. You stop the bar in the right zone and your hack is successful. Boom. How come nobody learned from Bioshock 2? Let's keep this shit moving a little bit, please. So I don't know, again, it's maybe I'll sit down and figure out this hacking shit. Maybe not. Maybe I'll just be you know what, whatever that part of the game is, whatever that has to offer me, I guess I'll never know because it's tiresome. It's a pain in the ass. And that's as far as I got so far. Through the intro, through the tutorial. I feel like I'm coming off more negative than I feel. It's just, it's the start of the game, but it's just like every fucking game is like this. Every game starts like this, where it's just like, okay, let's just swallow down the fucking janky shit that's happening. Let's fight through a tutorial that's totally boring. Let's just hope that this all smooths out and comes together. Because I like the style so much, and I like the setting so much. And I want to be into it. I want in. But are you gonna let me in game? Or am I just gonna die a death of 1,000 fucking paper cuts of just all the tiny little things that are all fucked up? Who knows? But there's the intro. Join me for session number 2 right now. All right, Cyberpunk 2077, session number 2. At this point, I'm gonna predict that I doubt that I'm gonna play this game for very long. I don't know. So things started off bad because I've been watching my cousin play. I only can play like a little bit when he's at work or whatever. Watching him play, it crashed all the time. He's got the PS4 version playing on a PS4 Pro. And I mean, who knows, sometimes some people just get unlucky. Some people get no crashes at all. But he got tons, just crashed all the time. But what I noticed just from watching him play mainly is that the dialogue is very cliche, like all of it, just 100% crazy cliche. Like there's this part where one of your partners dies and they have the funeral and everyone comes up and talks about him. And it's just a static shot because it's just, from your perspective, you're just sitting there, you're watching each person go up one after another, and they just say the most cliche stuff you could ever imagine of just like, whenever I look at that spot at the bar, I expect to see him still sitting there. His favorite spot. Jackie was a good guy. He didn't always do the right thing, but he tried to go blah, blah, blah. Just the fucking, what people are going to say before they even open their fucking mouths. All the time, constantly. Every line, every character, the whole thing from what I've seen. And part of that is just cyberpunk, because it's got that Mickey Spillane noir kind of thing going on. But when you do that right, it's really cool and, fucking cutting and harsh. And this is not. This is soft, boring, bland. And there is a lot of talking. A lot of talking. And it made me think of the part right at the start when you first get into the city, or in my case, I just got into the city because I was a nomad. And there's this 6-month montage. Here's what your first 6 months are like. Set the scene. Here's the people here's the stuff you do. It was very cool. And it made me think it's a shame they didn't do that all the time. I wish all the cutscenes were like that. Just chop up these cutscenes. Just take what you've got. It could be, in this case, it could help that it's cliche because you already know these beats. You already know these things these people are going to say. No one's going to surprise you. No one's going to say anything interesting. No one's going to say anything new. So you could just quick cut it and just cut. Jackie was a good guy. Cut. Expect to see him sitting there. Cut. I miss him. Whatever. Cut. Just these little moments. And you could explain it because you're a whacked out, cybernetic, cyberpunk, fucked up, ADD, brain-addled fucking protagonist, that could be the way you see the world. You're like an action junkie. You can't focus. It would be cool, it would be different, and it would not be boring. This shit is really boring. The setting is cool, the city is cool, but the moment to moment is long and slow, and every word that comes out of someone's mouth is the most boring thing they could ever say. So that's bad. That got me off on the wrong foot. And I also noticed my cousin was just doing endless inventory management. Just picking up stuff and this inventory full of shit, and then he's overburdened and he's trying to sell all this crap. And I've always hated that. I hate that in Fallout games. It's one reason why the book I wrote about The Last of Us, my little conceit was that I played the game without picking up anything, because that's what I started doing in like Fallout 3. It's like, what happens if? What if I just don't deal with this? What if I just don't pick up all this shit? And you realize it doesn't matter. You don't need it, you know? If you do need something real bad, it's probably laying around. Just pick it up then, you know? And I don't particularly like the shooting that much. I mean, I turned off auto aim, so maybe that's my bad. But I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to be a brawler. And so far, again, I'm very early, but it's been no problem. It's no problem to do a lot of sneaking or then just to choke people out or just do some punching. I'm like, what if? What if I don't pick up anything? What if I don't put on armor? What if I don't carry guns? What if I just try to punch everybody? And like, I'm hoping that doesn't work. I'm hoping I get to a point, because I got the game set to very hard. Like, I'm hoping I get to a point where I'm forced to interface with the systems and forced to learn them. But it's so weird with games when you don't. When you refuse to participate and you just sink right to the bottom and you have no inventory and no equipment. And sometimes you realize, oh, this shit is actually still super easy. You know, you can punch out everybody. You can just take all the bullets and auto heal and like, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But already, yeah, like this is just a bad sign. I'm deliberately not dealing with huge swaths of the game by just not picking up stuff. The dialogue I've already determined is just not worth your time. It's not worth paying attention to. I'm definitely not digging into all the messages and side story shit. Fucking forget that. Just sitting there listening to the main characters talk is brutal enough. But despite all this complaining, like, I like the city. I like the style. I like the feeling of being there, even though people keep popping up out of nowhere and everything's janky and weird. It feels good. So I started off kind of on a bad stretch, but then in the middle of playing, I'm like, yeah, but you know, maybe this will be cool anyway, you know? Maybe I can carve out my own fun and find a way to enjoy being in this little weird world they made. Although really just the feeling of the city and stuff, even though Sleeping Dogs is not futuristic, it just made me think of Sleeping Dogs and it made me miss Sleeping Dogs. Sleeping Dogs is so smooth and so fun and so cool and had just the right level of kind of cheese, you know? It had melodrama and it had kind of a standard plot, but it was told in like a fun way. That was just a really good game, you know? That's like a B+ game. It's a B game kind of, but it's a really good one. Where Cyberpunk is like a B- at best so far. And a lot of it's just expectation, you know, just hoping that this thing would be great because you wait for it for so long and it's like Bethesda's been shitting the bed so hard that it's like maybe this company can come fix stuff up. I played a little bit of the Outer Worlds and I was like, hey, these are the New Vegas guys. Maybe I'll get into this. Maybe I didn't give it enough of a chance, but I can't put my finger on why, but I didn't play that game for very long either and I kind of fell off. All right, so it's like, what exactly is the point of this game? Because also, my cousin got Spelunky 2. And like, that's a game. That's a great game. I love Spelunky 1. So I've only played Spelunky 2 about 20 times now. Still a lot to learn. But I'm like, yeah, Spelunky. Like, this is fun. This is what I like in video games. This is what I respect. And with Cyberpunk, what I would want to do ideally is like, you know, dip into the story a little here and there. Get a sense of it. Engage with it to just the degree that I might feel like I want to engage with it, but really I want to investigate systems. That's the point of a video game, not fucking storylines. The point of a game is the game. The point of the game is to figure out how all these mechanics work together, wrap it up in a package of a cool aesthetic presentation, which it does have, and that's the rewarding part to me, is to tinker with the game, where I get the distinct sensation with Cyberpunk that the reward is the story. The point of this is the story. This really, what this game is just a story. It's a story-based game, and it's just got these weird little mechanics thrown in to impede the progress of the story. Because like combat and stuff, it's certainly not just like a big open world where stuff can just happen. Which, I mean, it would be hard to do because it's a city. I don't know how they would deal with this. But like, it's very clear when you're in, here's the fight part. Here's the little part where, okay, for this little one area, you hack some cameras and figure out some shit and fight some people. And then in the city at large, you're just traveling from place to place. And really, I think if you had to boil down, like, what is this game trying to present? What is the game? What is this thing? It's just a story. It's just cutscenes. It's just dialogue. It's just endless people talking. It's just a bad TV show with weird little mini games in between. That's what this is. What's supposed to be fun about this? You know, unless you actually enjoy listening to these bland characters babble out their fucking boring bullshit, if you don't find that fun, I'm not quite sure why this as a game is supposed to be fun. I feel like there's some fundamental design decisions that like 7 years ago should have been addressed. And now we just got this weird cyberpunk talking simulator. Fantastic, great, wonderful, I love it. So there's session 2. You know, fuck video games, by the way. Whoever you might be, however you found this, thank you for listening, by the way. Fuck video games. What the fuck is this shit? You know, like walking around out here in the woods. I know I'm being all preachy and shit, but it's true. This shit is way better than video games. Video games can fuck off. Video games are a waste of fucking time. All right, see you for session 3. All right, Cyberpunk 2077 session 3, but not really because there is no session 3. So this is like a relatively new thing I'm trying out, this idea of reviewing a game hour by hour, you know? I've just been dipping my toe in to see how this goes. And I mean, obviously I've barely touched this game. I've played for like a couple of hours. So I was like, you know, if I'm gonna like do a critique or whatever, I guess I should play more, right? This is definitely not enough. But I guess what I'm realizing here is this is my first time trying this out with a new game, and I think that's just a bad idea. I'm not gonna do this in the future. I think it's better to focus on older games that I know I'm gonna care about more, and that I know I'm gonna put more time into. But that's part of the disappointment with this game is I really thought I was gonna care more about this game. I literally said to my cousin just before it came out, you know, because this is CD Projekt Red, the guys who seem like they do the right thing. They are so critically acclaimed for their other games. There's a no-clip documentary about them, about their history of just really high-quality productions, even when they were just a studio importing games into Poland. They did such a good job with all of that. And they've been working on this game for so long, and as the Fallout franchise continues to get worse and worse, I'm just always waiting for someone else to pick up the mantle and to make a proper open world game. And I'm like, this is it. Like, this has got to be the one, right? Like, all the stars are aligning. Cyberpunk is such a cool idea. This studio is so highly regarded. So I literally said to my cousin, like, there's no way this can be bad, right? There's no way. And I mean famous last words, dude. I've been eating my fucking words lately. Like, I haven't really put out anything much about The Last of Us 2, despite the fact that I wrote a whole book about Last of Us 1. But it was similar. I played half of that game and I just quit. I fucking hated it. And again, it's like, how? How could it be bad? It's Naughty Dog. It's The Last of Us. And then it's a big pile of shit. And I'm just like, fuck. Like, man, expectations are killers, you know? Like, even these really highly regarded studios with really good track records, where there's all the reason in the world to expect great things. I mean, the sad reality of video games is you just can't. Nobody's track record means shit, because just all of a sudden it could all just fall apart. Obviously, The Last of Us 2 fell apart in a different way, because it's a technical masterpiece. It's an amazingly made game. It's just a goddamn drag. Where Cyberpunk is a big taped together ball of shit. It's like a technical disaster on top of its other problems. But basically, I woke up today and I've only got like a little bit of time during the day when my cousin's at work. That's when I can use the TV with the PlayStation. So the first thing I did is I loaded up the last thing I put out on this feed was the third part of my Last of Us book. So I'm like, all right, let me just watch through the YouTube version that I made just to make sure it uploaded okay. So I watched that, and then I'm already at the TV. It's all turned on. I'm using the PlayStation already. I'm like, yeah, you know what? Let's play some Spelunky 2. So I played some Spelunky 2. I'm still relatively new to Spelunky 2, but I made it to World 4-3 is my record. But I mean, I made it to World 4 twice. Usually I'm lucky if I make it to World 2. Game's fucking hard, but great. It's a great game. So then I'm like, all right, well, now I guess I could give Cyberpunk its one last kick at the can. Like, let's just see. Let's give it one more go. Let's just see if it grabs me. But then I thought, like, I could play Cyberpunk. Or I could get the clippers out and give myself a haircut. Give myself a Corona buzz cut. Because my hair's getting kind of long. So I did that. And then I'm like, I could play Cyberpunk, or I could go for a walk out here in the woods and go walk to the grocery store and buy some oatmeal. And that seemed more fun. It's like, hey, I gotta get outside while the sun's up. If I play Cyberpunk, by the time I leave the house, it's gonna be dark. I think I would rather walk through the woods in the sunshine than play Cyberpunk. And I've listened to a few little, video game podcast reviews and shit about Cyberpunk, and none of it gave me any faith. Because mostly what it came down to is these bugs are so bad, they're getting in the way of me doing what I want to do in this game, which is the next cutscene, the next story beat. And that's bad because that is not what I want. Like I was saying, I mean, I haven't played much myself, but I watched my cousin play this game for like a few hours. I've seen plenty of the dialogue and story and stuff, and I don't like it at all. It's super stale, super boring, not exciting in the slightest. Slow, laborious, belabored. And I'm like, you know what? Fuck this game. Fuck it. Like the only reason I even felt like, oh, I should give it another try is just because, like, kind of what's the point of this? What's the point of me dipping my toe in and putting out this little impressions thing if I didn't really give it its full due? But I think that's also this is one of the potential outcomes of reviewing a game hour by hour, is maybe by hour 3, you're just like, no, I don't want to play this. Like, fuck this. It's shocking. It's surprising. It's not at all what I expected to happen with Cyberpunk. But there's no part of me that wants to slog through this. I cannot see a light on the horizon. Like, what am I trying to get to? Fight through these conversations with these boring fucks just to play some... Like, I guess what it really feels like is it feels like a visual novel. Like, the main part of this game is talking to people. And in between talking to people, you do mini games. Like, do a hacking mini game. Do a stealth mini game. If either of those fail, just do a shooting people in the face mini game. Now it's time to do a driving mini game to get to the next conversation. And it doesn't feel interwoven or connected. So let me just say briefly what I hoped for, The vision I had in my mind when I thought about playing Cyberpunk someday. What I had hoped is we would walk through this city and like that would be the main gameplay conceit. Not conversation trees, but just walking through the city, just exploring the environment. And then through exploring the environment, the story would emerge, the storytelling could be done through the systems. I mean, that's always the ideal, right? That's what you really want, is for a video game to be connected so that the gameplay loop informs the story. And then when you do have to just sit down and talk to somebody, try to keep it a little scant, think of it like a haiku. Get in, get out. but that should add to the environment and the setting and make the gameplay parts feel more significant. But this game is just not about the gameplay. I guess it's like I said last time, it's just not. And it doesn't feel like a big interconnected world. It doesn't feel like a bunch of interconnected systems. It just feels like mini games. Do this mini game, then do this mini game, then do this mini game. And yeah, from the reviews I listened to, people are saying like, you know, you can craft, but who cares? You don't really need to. There's just bullets everywhere, just whatever. Same thing I was saying, like inventory. You just have an inventory full of shit, just dealing with this, but for no particular reason. It feels plasticky. It feels like a little plastic toy. It doesn't feel like a big, vibrant, cool city that you're immersed in. It feels like a chintzy little plastic fake facsimile. And yeah, just fuck it, man. I just don't want to play this fucking game. So anyway, if you're slogging through Cyberpunk, good luck. I hope you have fun. I hope you enjoy boring, shitty dialogue. Most people seem to in the fucking video game sphere. They're more than happy. You know, I'm really shitting too on video game storylines. But that's not always necessarily so bad. But I just think a game needs to be what it is. You know, if a game is a fully story-based game, Gone Home is probably the best example. But if like you're just here for a story, I can get into that. Although even then, I would make the argument that Gone Home has mechanics. There is a game-like method of piecing together the clues in that game to understand the story. You're not just sitting there talking to people and watching cutscenes. But if that's what a game is, I can get into it. You know, I can be ready for that. Or if like a puzzle game, like Braid, you know, it's the puzzles. Okay, I'm here to do puzzles. Let's do the puzzles. I can get into that. But when a game is just a mishmash of shit, I cannot get into that at all. It's like pick a fucking lane. Pick a lane, decide what this game is trying to do. Don't just try to do everything. Because then I'm just sitting here boredly clicking through cutscenes so I can get to the fucking half-baked fucking free roaming parts, and then the half-baked action scenes, and the half-baked stat building, and the half-baked inventory management. And it's like, where is this all going? When is this going to get to something that I give a fuck about? And yeah, like I said, I didn't get very deep in, but I don't know. I feel like it's like this with movies and TV shows and books and stuff. It's pretty easy to tell the tone of something right away. Is this going to go somewhere or not? I don't know, my favorite example is like Game of Thrones. People were all shocked when they didn't like the ending. Bitch, by fucking episode 3, I knew that show was gonna be a meandering mess. It's very fucking clear. It's wearing it on its sleeve. It's your fucking fault if you watched all that shit. And it's your fucking fault if you played through all the Cyberpunk when you know it's just half-assed trash, man. It's fucking crap. Fuck this game. Ugh. Just talking about it puts me in a bad mood. What a downer. So anyway, I'm bailing out on Cyberpunk. Fuck that. Thanks for listening to this dumb rambling. From here on in, I don't think I'll be critiquing brand new games because it's just the whole situation feels bad. There's so much pressure for it to be good and people just desperately hoping to like it. The whole conversation would be different a year from now. It'd be a lot more level-headed. Where here, yeah, I'm just like, ugh. It's like, I guess I should stick with it. I guess I should play it more. But why? Just because it's new? Because it's new and you spent a lot of money on it? Fuck you. Just admit that it sucks. Just fucking admit it. You video game bitches. You're just, video game fandom. You just get fucked over and over and over and over. And you just keep desperately trying to give 9 out of 10 to these piece of shit experiences that fucking suck. Yeah, you had big expectations. Yeah, you waited a long time. Yeah, it seems crazy that this company took such a nosedive, but it did. That's what happened. Just fucking admit it. All right. Whatever. Talk to you next time. Adios.